either way. So that's fine, because remember, component inspections, like we did one today, those are supposed to be done by you and me, and I'm technically supposed to be, you know, how do I say it, the person who delegates the duties. So decided to, just like, spent like over an hour and a quarter, maybe an hour and a half with meetings today. Things that they're like, I don't know, they're cool. I mean, they said, well, we didn't know we need permits for things like that. He says, we hired a contractor, they pulled the permit. I said, that's true, but the owner's responsible. You should check that he pulled the permit. So the other thing came up with that, he's backed off since I put the threat out to Tim, said, listen.
Hi, Laura, can you hear us all right?
I'm contacting.
Oh, she's connected.
You know, no vote, I didn't need to. And I said, but I'm gonna let it go now, because you know what I'm saying? But keep stoking the fire, it'll keep going. And I'm not that kind of person, like, you know, but I said, burn me and stab me in the back. I said, you're dead. Because, you know, I said, I will not take that slander. For 29 years in this board, and I'm an expert in those areas. I'm saying, and I'm the agent, so we call it your slandering and claiming illegal action by the agent of the town, and it's a public health official. You know, it ruins, how do I say it? Like, if one person believes that, then I feel like that's one too many. Yeah, it's just my thing, you know.
No, you're right.
But he backed off, so, well, at least I haven't heard anything. But today, I was quizzing about the work that he did prior with no permits at all. They said, well, we didn't know when you get permits for that.
And this is,
Blue Links, yeah, they changed the pump, they changed the sewer line. They had no electric permit, they had no septic permit. And then the guy that did that is the guy that's bitching more because he didn't get the job. You know, and so we call it spillment credit.
Yeah.
You know, if you bid lower, you would have got the job. But he did bid anywhere from 20 to 40,000 lower than the other two in December. But they thought that was too much money, so they held out until we found it. You know, and I said,
oh, you are, I'll admit.
I mean, are we live it? Move this guy down. Probably not gonna go. Maybe just a little bit.
We're almost live. I'm almost there.
Let's do it. Brother's uncle, one of his favorite uncles, it's on his deathbed, so he's not been doing anything. You know, a couple of times he texted me, and I texted him, said, Mike, how's this going? He said, listen,
We're live.
the most important thing in my life is my uncle dying. I said, I don't want to be disrespectful.
No, I agree.
But you know, I also have a job. You have a job. Anyway. Okay, being 7 o'clock, I'd like to open the meeting for the Bellingham Board of Health for October 3rd, 2023. Myself, Ben 40 Chair, member Rick Gilberti, agent Dylan Labonte, and we're waiting for member Trish Leclerc and minutes clerk Laura Renaud. Okay, I guess we'll do the first order of business, which is minutes to approve from September 19th, 2023. I have no changes.
I have no changes either. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 19th.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain. I guess abstain is good. Okay. Okay, tobacco inspector updates. We don't have Robbie tonight because he's got a water main break.
Yeah.
So do you have any, Dylan, to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can go through,
Go.
what I got real quick. So for the, so the FD inspections, are still gonna need to be completed. We still have a lot of them to do by the end of the year. With that being said, however, we've been really working on the RFSs.
Okay.
And we're actually hoping to have them all done by the end of the week. We really only have South Bellingham left, and most of the businesses are just on Pulaski.
Okay, fine.
I, within the past 2 weeks since our last meeting, did Bellingham Mobile, BP, Larry's, the Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry, and Noria on Hartford Ave.
Okay.
Michelle was able to go out, do Pandolfi's, Star, Star Market, Staples, Spirit Halloween, Party City, Paper Store, Home Depot, Michaels. So
That's good.
we're chugging along on the RFSs.
Okay.
Those will be done and then we'll be able
Retail food. inspection.
retail foods, sorry,
That's fine.
retail food store inspections.
That's fine.
And the food establishment inspections, we'll be focusing on getting those done after we get through those RFSs.
So do we have usually we said a month after the schools, we did, what they call that? Just a pre-inspection like fire and police. And well, not so much police, building, as to everything's set up and everything's functional. But we said from the food side, I don't think it's redundant. You should actually see them in process with the food.
Mhm.
You know, versus a clean kitchen, everything's set up, it looks good.
I agree.
There's no food. So I think we set a date of like a month after opening, so that would be October 7th and after, so. And I don't know exactly, maybe Laurie can check this out. I mean, it should be unannounced, you know, we have to usually go through a particular lady who's the food service manager, but she is remote.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I don't know, Laura, why don't you check that out, whether we should just have Dylan go in there and yourself or Michelle can go with Dylan, you know, and do the schools, you know.
Yep.
From what I heard before was,
I do think we're better off going in there unannounced.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, what I was told by you or Robbie is that the food is manufactured at the high school and middle school, and it goes to Stallbrook and the elementary, so. It's the only thing is, the food truck needs to be super clean, it needs to have either.
Is that the food truck that parks out
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yeah, well, no, it's the food truck that says Bellingham Schools.
Yep.
But I've seen them hauling furniture and other junk in there.
Oh, I see. what you're saying.
Unacceptable,
Okay.
unless containers are stainless steel, the whole temp, or they're food that doesn't require stainless steel, but they're food grade bins, you know, I don't wanna see something that you use for an automotive shop. Cause it may not have the right plastics in that.
Yep.
Could get into the food. So it should be a food grade container, whether it's Rubbermaid, Glad, or what other companies are out there, so that's about all I have to say.
All right.
So why don't we schedule the schools somewhere after October 7th, you know, I don't know what the date is, today's what, 7?
Today's the third, so
7 would
next
be-
week,
Yeah, so
schedule the
you
schools
could
for
do
sometime next week.
Tuesday
Yeah.
or Wednesday. Pending any cancellation of billboard out there, I think there's a teachers thing going on, so.
Yep.
So health agent updates, Charles River Plaza, you can start off and finish that.
So, on the 26th of September, there was a major sewage backup that leaked. The John Sewer and Pipe Cleaning was called in for a slow toilet on Verizon, and they ended up chasing a leak all the way back to the entrance. When they opened it up, it ended up blowing just because of the built up pressure, and so, they pumped the sewer clean. They power washed the street with Simple Green. And I also had them pump any remaining particulate matter and sludge out of the storm drain, as well as remove it from the site. With that being said, I returned the following day, and I determined that they were going to need another cleaning. So I reached out to the maintenance team over there. They returned that evening on the 28th, at 10 p.m. And they did a deep scrub on the road with industrial scrubbing devices, and the sidewalk, utilizing Simple Green. Vinny and I had talked about how he wanted to utilize Clorox, and I just made the decision that I thought, being so new, and knowing that the DEP is already in town, I agreed with their worries about putting Clorox too close to the wetlands, and I allowed them to utilize Simple Green. With that being said, Jesse from the DPW told me today, should it happen again, to utilize lime.
Yeah.
And so we can do that for any similar instances going forward.
Okay.
So
I'm
that,
not sure that, you know, the Clorox definitely, and there's a few other industrial strength, what do you call it, virucides and bactericides.
yeah,
But, you know, I'm pretty sure the lime depends, if you're using the lime used for a lawn or for a garden, it's not strong enough.
okay,
In terms of like its pH or its corrosivity to kill E. coli.
Mhm.
They're pretty nasty, and again, there's other viral components of humans that are.
I mean,
Those-
considering
well, that
the
would kill.
recommendation came from Jesse at the
Right, right.
DPW, potentially the DPW has line that is strong enough.
Right, so.
Then
if
we can just
were
reach out
getting
to
it
them
from
if we have a
we can-
similar issue.
We probably should just get, for the heck of it, put that on your to-do list. Let's get a MSDS on the line that they had carried.
Yep.
And he did say like a lawn spreader, so that's a good idea. The other thing that Dylan didn't add, when they first showed up, no squeegee, no shovel, and we had crumbs of grease and fat all the way down to the entrance to the first storm drain leading into the Charles River. So that was pretty ugly, but the good news is, I had left and Dylan was still there. And, the second truck that showed up, which was coming in as I was leaving, that one was more of an industrial sewer pumper. They were alerting us that there's a storm drain with an oil water separator.
Oh,
So
yes.
this stuff would be treated like the grease as an oil, like solidified oil.
Mhm.
So it was good. So they got that all cleaned up, but they have to go to Home Depot to buy tools. So I'm suggesting next time we go right to the second company and not the first one, because the first one's made for, like he said, a toilet plug. They're like John's is like Rover. Unless you got the commercial division, this might have been that, but they were not equipped to do a storm drain and a sewer line.
Yep.
So the other thing that was interesting.
I think it was also the fact that they were not expecting that large of a job and they admitted that to us.
Correct.
So that could also
Yeah.
play a significant hand.
And the other thing too is this here, obviously, I learned something, I think it was from Jesse. Regal Cinemas, keep calling it Rapid Refill, but I mean, Regal has 2 grease pits. This was built up for like, I'll say years, or maybe a year. So when we passed our fog regulations a month ago, this would have never been a non-compliance after it was done. This was before that. So we need to make sure Regal, Chili's, I don't think about Whole Foods as a big grease producer. But those 2 places have to make sure that their grease pits are getting us reports in.
Yep.
Because in February, the state's coming back.
Yep.
Although Whole Foods, I'm sure, has a big grease pit because they do a lot of in-house
They
cooking.
do,
Yeah.
okay. So they
Yeah.
said something about, and we went in there that day. to
They
check
get theirs
everything out.
cleaned or whatever, but I still
Right.
think
They
I
said they
agree
have
with you.
reports.
No, that whole end of the store
Is a cooking.
is where they cook everything.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I would.
Well, all
definitely-
4,
Yep.
all 4 you need to. And what they said to us when we walked in, the manager said, oh yeah, I gotta send you, I just saw your regulations on fog. He said, I'll be sending in my quarterly reports. I said, great. But this was way more than the last quarter,
Yeah.
2 quarters. I'll say it was way more than 1 year from this date.
Yeah.
So,
But,
so we need to know where it came from. And hopefully the other lines aren't waiting to burst,
yeah,
because there's more than 1 manhole on that site.
yeah, they likely are going to need a complete flush of the system.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the Charles River Plaza. Moving forward,
Well, me.
North Main Street Plaza, I took a trip down there on the same day, the 28th, and those buckets are still there.
Yeah.
They have not been touched, they have not been moved, and this is now up to the property manager. They need to do something as soon as possible. And I actually wanted to, I guess, run it by the board, whether we thought about, we haven't really been able to reach the property manager, so I don't know if we would really be able to, but I'm thinking about potentially finding them, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They should
Well,
have cleaned this up.
Just to add this to, the fire department reported this about a
Weeks
month and a
ago.
half. No, it was more than that.
Yeah.
A month and a half ago, before you even got hired.
I was
So,
gonna say,
2 months now.
exactly.
And there were the same 5 or 7. I thought there was 7, but this 5 now. Now, it looks like the vegetation was cleared a little bit. It looks cleaner, because I couldn't even walk in it, covered with oil. But the cans are just sitting there.
Yep.
There was other debris that's gone. But those 5-gallon pails, when the fire department goes through another swing, they gotta say like, hey, I reported to the Board of Health. It's clearly a health issue, and we're lucky the rats from the Charles have not gotten into those. It's a great food source for the campground.
Yeah, there's just
They can
open,
chew right through plastics.
oh yeah, so,
So I
Well,
think,
what business do they belong to?
well, that's the issue.
well, it's a catering business that went out of business like a year or 2 ago.
Yes,
The plaza sold, so the new guy inherited that. He never even knew it was it.
so that was the other issue. When I went there, there's two occupied units. There's the comic store, which wouldn't produce that.
Right.
And then there's Family Dollar. I went to Family Dollar and asked them about it behind there. It's
that-
not behind Family Dollar. It's in between those two units, and those units in between those two are vacant. So I
Why
can't,
don't we send a registered letter to the property
I
owner
wanna say, you have to.
that
remove
this
those
is
and-
what we wanna
Right.
do?
Yep.
And just list out exactly what you want
Right.
done with it.
Yeah.
And give them a 30-day notice.
Well, I
to
wouldn't even
do
give
it.
that. I think they should be able to get rid of it in 7 days.
Well,
Whatever.
whatever time you wanna
Okay,
give them, but
okay.
let's do it in a registered letter
Yeah.
right to the owner.
Yep.
Okay.
And get them on notice.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that's smart.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, good.
All right, so let's write that down real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that with the North Main Street Plaza. We'll get that registered letter written up and we'll get that over there as soon as possible. So with 15 Farm Street, Vinny and I took a drive by there last week. The house looks pretty decrepit. It's very overgrown. There's a unregistered car in the driveway with no plates.
They're allowed one, unfortunately, but. whatever.
But either way, we've tried reaching out to the homeowner through phone calls, email, whatever, and I was thinking. Another thing that I would like to run by the board was potentially. Taking the police over there and doing a wellness check on the individual.
Yeah.
And not only going. To inform them that
Right.
they're gonna have to clean up the property, but at this point, we haven't been able to reach anyone and the property looks. So poorly maintained, I have no idea what's going on in there.
Hey Laura, did we ever send them a letter? This was over a month ago, at least. Did we ever send a letter to 15 Farm Street? Because the taxes were paid, so we have an address.
Yes, I've been trying to notify them with no
No,
response back.
okay, so I think the police for wellness checks. First of all, the lady on 9 Monique, to bring you up to speed, complained about an old pool, cement pool.
Yeah, we went over, yeah, that's falling in.
That's all falling in.
Yep.
But when I said to her, there's so much invasive species, both picky and non-picky, that are covering the 3-foot fence, that you couldn't get in there if you wanted to. But I agree. If potentially, she said she thought she saw animals in there. And there was no water because the bottom is perfect. It's all rotted cement. It looks like someone added, but it could be there for like 10 years.
I actually
Chlorine,
pulled, I
I'm
actually
talking
pulled the permit
yeah.
on the pool.
Yeah.
The pool was built in the 80s.
Okay,
So
so
it could have just
pool-
been poorly maintained and at this point,
Yeah,
it's just
So-
falling apart.
that needs to be filled. The windows are all filled with, like some of the windows filled with plywood. The grass is so tall, it fell over, so now it's 4 feet reduced to like 1.5 feet. And,
But is there somebody living there?
Well,
Oh, we
that's
don't
the
know.
thing.
I don't
We don't
think
know
so.
because we haven't been able to get a hold of anyone and I can't,
well, the neighbor. and
I don't
Monique
feel,
says
I
there's
personally
never a
don't
light
feel
out there.
comfortable. Showing up to there alone as just the health agent knocking on
No,
the door.
no, definitely have the police go
Right.
with you.
Yeah,
Do a
But I
wellness
already-
check on the
yeah,
owner,
that's fine.
and they'll find out if it's somebody's there or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
And if not, then another registered letter to the
I
owner.
I did, what do you call it, a knock on the door, banging on the door, I went and looked in the. Where there was glass that wasn't covered with plywood from the inside, so water can go in. I couldn't see if the floors were like rotted, the
Mhm.
roof's okay, the roof's actually pretty good, but the only thing in the house is good. The screen door, if you open it, it starts to, so I just kept it and I banged on the glass window. No animal in the house, that's a good thing, you can
Yeah.
tell someone's living there.
that's good.
The lady on 9 Monique said there was no person there for, like, sometimes they come once, but then they're gone for a month.
I guess my
So
fear and the
I would say
reason
if you're gonna
why,
go with the police, you gotta go after like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
well, I was,
didn't go
yeah,
there.
I was,
during the
I was,
day.
I was just thinking, the only reason why I was thinking of bringing the police and doing a wellness check is because especially when. The property is poorly managed, there's not a lot of lights on,
Right.
God forbid there's someone deceased in there.
Yeah.
I don't wanna, I would
The
that's
windows-
pushing
If
it,
you banged on the door, you would have smelled it right away.
Yeah,
yeah,
and the windows are not tight, there's a sheet of plywood that nailed from the
Okay.
inside.
But bring the police,
Yeah.
it's just easier.
Yeah.
I would say possibly
Okay.
doing, a Saturday or Sunday is better, because guess
Okay.
what? People might work all hours, and maybe they hang at a neighbor's or a friend's house. But I don't know. She said there's been no activity in the house for
It
years.
might take 3 times.
Right.
One during the day, which you've already done,
Right, done.
one after 5 o'clock at night on a weeknight, and then maybe on a Saturday.
okay,
And that might work.
yeah,
But in the meantime, Laura, let's send another letter out to the tax paying entity and see if they, and tell them they need to contact this in less than 7 days before we take further action.
So moving forward, paperless meetings, this was just an idea that I brought up. I know Vinny's avidly against
I'm
it.
on paper.
But I just wanted to bring it up to the board. What are your thoughts on potentially trying to limit our paper usage going into the new year? Because, you know, I've noticed that with these meetings, we get these wonderful packets that Laura puts together for us, and a lot of this just goes shortly after the meeting into the trash. So I wasn't sure if,
First of all, I keep everything,
Yeah,
okay,
So do I.
so, on paper.
okay,
If we wanna go, I would rather have it in paper for now.
that's okay.
And the reason I say that is because I can go back in my files
Right.
and see the first meeting I was at. Whereas if I have to go into my iPad
Yeah.
and start trying to figure out what I'm looking for, what the date is, where I saved it.
Right.
I would probably print it out at home, so
I hear you.
And the other
Okay,
thing too is, I make notes. on
I
it,
make notes on mine.
And
I
that's
do.
important.
okay,
2 years goes down, we have the same problem. You say, oh yeah, we've seen this before. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's the same residents.
Well,
So
and
that's important for that.
it was more of just a
no,
suggestion,
and it's a good one, but
but, but yeah,
my final thought on it is. I keep everything. I make notes
Right.
on everything that we do. And if I have to go and testify in court, I have my notes.
Correct.
And I can
Yeah.
bring those in, and they can subpoena my notes.
Correct.
They can.
yeah,
But at least I have them.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's
if I
fine.
have it on an iPad and I say, well, I remember, I think I thought this when I did this.
Yeah,
I'd have to start keeping notes on the iPad.
Yeah.
And then that's just,
and I don't.
I would print it out again, so it's like.
of course,
Yeah.
no, that
So-
makes sense.
Here's what I
Okay.
did suggest to Dylan. The stuff like when we have plans for approval, we don't need a copy. Bills, we don't need a copy of that.
Maybe we could try, yeah, maybe we
See,
could
I don't
trim
mind,
down,
yeah, I don't mind just having the agenda,
Yeah.
okay,
And
Print it out.
Minutes of what? Minutes. of-
the minutes from before and
that we
yeah.
need, yep, okay. So maybe it's not totally paperless, but
No.
maybe we can at least trim down the packet.
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah,
try and-
definitely.
To try and
The
save some
bills,
paper.
Absolutely.
you know, we
Okay.
don't really need that.
All
If
right.
it's a loan program, there's documentation, we need that bill.
Yep,
But if it's a payment on the loan, I don't need it. As long as accounting is taken care of. The bill was 40, you paid the guy 20, you owe him 20 when he gets certificate of compliance, something like that.
okay,
So I think that'll cut, there's quite a bit of stuff in the back.
Yep.
You know,
all
like,
right.
you know, whatever.
So that's that, and then the last thing that I just wanted to talk about was just, a couple thoughts that I had on, penalties with fines and closures for 2024 permits. I understand that I was a new agent, and so, you know, I didn't have a hand in this, and it probably, without an agent, it just kind of slipped under the radar, but. You know, I guess I was kind of upset that, Italian Pizza was allowed to operate for that long without a permit.
Correct, yeah.
And I personally, I think that that's unacceptable. You shouldn't be able to operate or whatever without a permit. So I guess the suggestion that I had was come January, if you haven't renewed your permit, you're closed until you renew it. I don't think it's right that you should be able to open and then you're hit with a fee.
Yeah.
That's gonna be way too difficult to keep track of. If you have your permit and it is paid and you are a permitted business, you can open. If you haven't, you haven't,
Yeah.
because it's also a liability thing for us
Right.
where. You know, God forbid someone ate at Italian Pizza during those non-permitted months and
Right.
got sick, who does it fall on?
Right.
The Board of Health.
I'd like to have the law department
Okay,
Wait a minute.
weigh in on it,
Okay.
because I don't know if we're allowed to just say you're closed.
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah,
valid.
check
So,
with council.
so.
I would check with town council.
With town
see what
council?
they-
Okay.
What they say.
Laura, I think it's Amy Cassell for this, but check it out and have Dylan call her. So here's the other thing I was gonna say, when we put what we call fines or fees, what we did was we took the town's typical taxes water bill. It's 14, I don't know where they came up with that town interest rate, 14.7% plus a $5 demand fee. When you have a permit 100 or a permit 400, you get literally a guy running 4, 5, 6 months and he pays $20 extra. Now, the interest rate's low, someone's gonna say, well, who cares? No, it's just the fact that they're running without a permit. When they finally get caught, they say, yeah. They may just continue to do that. Every year you gotta track them. Every year you gotta slap them on the wrist. So I agree with Dylan. If legal says legal, you're closing. That way there, You got no money coming in until you get a permit.
Yep, and I agree with Rick that I think we should run it by legal,
Yeah,
because I didn't
absolutely.
even think of that
Absolutely.
before, and I think that that's really smart to just cover our tracks, so I appreciate that.
And I really don't think, for all the people that do try to come in and do it on time and do it right, it's not really fair
Yes.
when a
I agree.
business is running another 6 months without paying.
Yeah, exactly, I agree, Laura,
And the
I
penalty
agree,
is tiny money.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
really.
so hard to keep track of, it's not even worth penalizing them, it's
Right.
worth, yeah, so.
Like 6 months gets us $12. A year gets us 15 plus 5, $20. I'm going, are you kidding me?
Can we also run by town council if it would be possible when they don't pay for their permit on time, that we have a sticker that we can put right on the door? Says Town of Bellingham, permit has not been paid. This is your tax money or something like that. We're not shutting them down, but we're putting people on
Yeah,
notice
yeah.
that they're not paying their taxes.
Right.
Or their fees. It's just my own suggestion.
That's a good idea.
You have to shame them sometimes into
Right.
doing it.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I had with just really quick to touch on with, fines and closures was just, with donation bins. So, for example, Larry's used to have 6 bins.
Right.
So they had 6 permits.
Correct.
Each permit costs, what, $100?
Yes, and
So,
they went to,
we
they
were
get
receiving-
$750, so 6 permits.
Yep,
Each bin, they get $750, so they get 4,500.
Yep.
And they pay us 600.
so with that being said, they now have 1 bin,
Right.
1 permit.
Right.
However, that is a big bin.
It is, I think it's counted as 2, but if they're only paying for 1 bin, that's wrong.
And so I wanted to run by the board whether we think it would make sense to do by maybe we permit by volume of the containers that are, say, okay, or maybe it's by door, because I know that large unit has, I believe, 2 or 3 doors.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's fair to these other businesses that have 2 or 3 small boxes that they have to pay 2 or 3 permits, and they're paying $200-300.
Right.
Whereas Larry's is kind of getting off the hook with only 1 permit having a
Well,
big
what I
bin.
would say is, we do it this way here, we leave the regular yellow and the white ones at 100 each.
Yep.
And then we have to investigate, maybe your thing is, that's still 6 bins, I don't think it is, I think it's 2 big ones. which is
Correct.
Equivalent to 4, so they should at least pay, based on that volume, 4 permits.
Correct, and the reason why I thought of
I don't know
volume,
why Planet A did that, but
the reason why I thought of volume is because when people, get a permit for the donation bin, they
Right.
send us a mock-up of the donation bin, so it's quick math to just
Correct.
calculate the
yeah,
volume
or
of
we
the
could
bin.
drive out the,
Or we could even drive out there, it's not that big of a
There's
deal,
quite
but
a few-
regardless,
right,
I just don't think it's right that they're kind of slipping under the radar with that, and I think that we should maybe look into,
Yeah.
kind of securing that.
unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for them. Fortunately for us, I had said, and Laura had brought this up before. We need to start finding them, 24 hours, and I was gonna say 1 minute, because I can't be on that clock. But now the thing is, when I last went in there, I said, you're done, because he thought I was coming in to find him. I said, this is your 7th warning. People don't get 7 warnings when they do something wrong. They get 3 if they're lucky. I said, well, with us, we're gonna start finding you, and it's gonna be by picture, timestamp. 1 more, it could be 24 hours, 25 hours, that's violation. And you get the fine in the mail, just like you do going through a traffic light that's monitored. You get a fine in the mail, or a stop sign that's monitored.
Mhm.
So, they've been good on us between you, there is some junk there, it's like gone, sometimes halfway through the door, dead. So it's very interesting to see what happens, even during the school moving, kids going back to school, there wasn't much junk. But when the big holidays come up, like Christmas, people get new stuff, they throw the old out there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think
We'll see
the
if
reason that the company put in 1 big one instead of the individual ones is because they're a charitable organization and they didn't want to have to pay all the permit money?
No, Larry pays the permit,
We're talking about
Planet A pays the,
Larry's.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Now, I don't know, Laurie, can you look up in the records? I think Planet Aid said they're gonna pay the 100 for each bin for everybody. So what they did was they saved a lot of money there.
Well, and it's a charitable organization.
It is.
So is it really, do we want to take money out of Morgan Memorial and aid and?
I'm not gonna lie to you, the reason why I was pushing it was because I thought it was coming from Larry's.
But no, ultimately it might come from Larry's,
You're right.
but it really is their money.
Right.
I see what you're
that are
saying.
Being charged,
Right.
I see what
they're
you're saying.
paying something.
Yeah,
Well, we have the bylaw, the bylaw, the regulation we created. Before we even created, I thought we were getting opposition from the select board. They were not. They wanted to get rid of them. It is an eyesore when you turn that corner and it's cluttered with junk in front. And we did camera stuff. We took 13 people, sent them summons, and none paid. And we did nothing about it. And in the future, I said to the PD, you'll run the stuff, you'll get us the information. We're sending the fine out. We're going to court. Bruce said, I'm not doing this. Well, I think Dylan's got a better attitude than the last agent, so Dylan will go. to
Yeah,
court.
and I have no problem if we're gonna punish people, but it's a charitable organization.
Yeah.
And it. I think that's a real good place for it because everybody sees it.
Right, oh yeah, but I'm just saying they,
And I've been donating stuff there for 20 years.
oh, yeah,
but if there's a big giant sign that says, they keep moving around, people put it behind the bin, throw it in the wetland. But what they're saying is, it says if it can't fit in the bin, you know, if you pull it down. you
No,
put
no,
it in,
I agree.
I honestly
it's
thought-
littering.
I honestly
It
thought
sits
that
outside
they
bin.
put that bin in because. My thinking was, it's easier to clean around one bin than it is to get in between six. When their
Yeah.
biggest issue has been trash around it,
Correct, yeah.
it's much easier to maintain one unit than it is to maintain six separate ones. But I also completely understand where you're coming from, where yes, they're a charitable organization
Right.
and it's just not morally correct to like try and drain their pockets. So I guess I didn't see that
See,
perspective.
the other thing is we could say to them, put those bins down in the recycle center.
Mhm.
The problem is not everybody goes to the recycle center. And it's a little out of the way, so you don't go buy it while you're going to work. in the morning.
Correct.
So
But
I
they do have a
think,
lot of Planet Aid bins.
oh, no, I agree, And
This is
they
only
do
white
have
set. I don't
bins
know why
down
they
at
got
the,
white ones too.
they do have bins down at the recycle center.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And people do donate books and,
Right,
you know,
right.
and clothing. But not everybody goes there.
Correct.
Everybody goes by Larry's.
Yeah, I know. But the one down at Pulaski, that center down there, one gave it up because it was like that. You know, we kept saying, we're gonna find you. We did the same with Larry's. Now, honestly, I've been truthfully saying, you know, even though Dylan's saying they're probably getting away paying 1 or 2. And they used to pay 6. I'm saying we need to invest.
And I bet that's why they did it, was
Correct.
because they didn't want to pay for 6.
Exactly.
Correct.
They only wanted to pay for 1.
Yeah,
I think it's 2, actually. I think it's 2 combined. There's a split.
Oh, okay.
I guess-
They open the door
I
on
guess
each side.
the
So it's
reason
2
why I was thinking of it was because I agree that was what I was thinking, and I guess. I didn't want to see the town losing money because of that.
Right.
But when it's just not that, it's not like a big money thing,
Right.
it's a donation bin, and I agree. I think we can, if anything, as far as the donation bins, we can just push that off. I don't. think
Well,
that's-
They definitely gotta keep them clean. They
Right.
gotta, you know,
Yes.
they must police around them.
Right.
Of course.
Well,
I
he's
get
doing
that.
it now because
Yeah.
I
Yep.
told him, it's gonna be a camera shot for Laura. Another camera shot, 24 hours and 1 minute, or 25 hours, or 30 hours later.
Yep.
But he's been picking it up, so I'm,
Yeah.
Now, the other thing too, I get nervous there is, there's been several occasions where hazardous materials was put out there. I'm talking pool chemicals that can explode in the sun, kill someone making a donation, because they don't know what it is. I actually took one out of there, and I looked at it and I said, oh, this is not pool chemical, it was some other solvent. So I said, who would do that? That's like people open up a bag and put something bad in something you eat. And usually it's a kid that ends up getting his whole life ruined or dying. So that really bothers me. So some people that drop that, or in this case right now, state of Massachusetts charges you for TV sets. You get 1 free one each year. either a 0 to 25, if you go over your 1, 15, and then 25 to whatever size you could possibly have, 80 inches is 25 or 35.
So what,
So what I'm saying is,
yeah,
when the TV set goes there, it's totally illegal, and they're broken sometimes.
so we'll just, with that, we'll have to keep policing them, I agree,
Yes.
but with, as far as fees, all that stuff, I guess we can just kind of put that off.
We'll
and
leave it
discuss
that way there, but I think we should look at the fact.
Why don't we look at it in 6 months?
Yep,
You're gonna
Take
go
it
by there every time you go by, you'll look at it.
Yep.
If we find there's a problem in 6 months, then.
then we can do something about it.
Yeah.
I like that. Yep, sounds like a plan.
Alright.
All right, no new business.
No, I guess, no, I don't think we have. Well, the only thing I'll bring up, but I'll do it in good and farewell, because it entered late, is the Title V regulations that we enacted. They're in this package too. Anyway, let's go. Okay, sorry. Livestock regulation change on old business. What happened was about 2 weeks ago, just after our meeting, town council said that our amendment to the zoning bylaw at town meeting was not so much illegal, but it was not done right. I have to go to planning board, since planning board reigns in on that. Board of Selectmen, maybe planning, maybe zoning, or back to, then it can be put on, and it was to remove 3 words, greater than 6 months.
Mhm.
Or take the Board of Health right out of it. I still need to do that process. So if I told her, when I was talking to council, I said, well, if we don't remove anything, leave it the way it is, we write a regulation stricter, she said, and this is what another lawyer first said to me. The bylaw would be looked at first, and anything you have stricter is second and not enforceable. So we do have to do this, so the first meeting in January of the planning board. Laura, find out that actual date, so I don't get, how do I say it, forget it. And Dylan and I will go there and do the thing, if you want to.
Yeah.
Clearly going to do this because when you have someone living in town for 30 to 35 years, 3 different people. And one guy comes in, he's been there now 2 years, and he's been nothing but, how do I say it, a neighborhood bully. You know, he walks his dog, lets him crap on the lawn. And some people put signs, please pick up after your dog. You know, he says, my dog can't read the sign, and he keeps walking. So, you know, why would you do that? I don't know what the guy's problem is, but it always takes one person to make an enforcement change in the regulations. When nobody's done this for years, I mean, we're talking about this regulations a little old. And it just took one person to say, you know, and I think he's done something else to the wetlands in the area, but I suggested that the person complained to us. Go to UMass Amherst, get the cartography lab to shoot up 2 years ago. Show what we call leaves on, leaves off, so you can see what the wetlands are. And then take that picture, take it to our Concom and say, he filled in a swale that led to it. He changed groundwater. That led to a swale. And I know the property behind it is all wetlands because I did for a developer 2 wetland delineations on the end of Irene Court. And this is the front end, which is even wetter. And if you look at that first house at Irene and North Street, I think it's like some kind of a church person, like a different, you know, like whatever. He's always got religious sayings. That whole backyard of his entirely swamped. So it's likely they filled in a natural swale, which was a wetland, or it leads to it. And now all the water's going into her yard. The only fortunate thing is she has a 35-year-old cesspool. You can't protect the cesspool by saying it got flooded because it's not considered a system on the maps law. It's considered a system for us that I would pass, and I did one today.
So for the livestock regulation change, you and I need to go to the planning board, and
In
that's
January.
the first step,
And
and
then
then we're gonna
select
have to go from
board.
there,
Right.
select board.
And then
So
back to
that-
planning or.
Yep.
Yeah. And then that wording will be put into the May meeting, so we have to wait till May. There's no way around it. I told her,
It's gonna be a long process.
I
It's
told
gonna
him-
be
I
at
told
least 6 to 8 months.
I told them, well, yeah, from now, yes.
Yeah, from now, yeah.
It'll be the May 15th or 20th meeting. What I did tell her is the owner of that property agreed, or we'll help with this problem. And she should attend planning board. So
Yep.
she said she would. So,
Yep, cool.
and I had another brilliant idea, Rick. I thought of you and then I thought of me and I said, yeah, I'll save that. It's interesting.
Okay.
Well, I'll put it this way, I'll telegraph the punch. We're growing to 5 in November, so you know me. The board will be composed of normal citizens that want to do their civic duty, that have either a health background or not, but have an interest in public health, and not my special interest groups with agendas. All I'm saying, if you're out there, you know who I'm talking to. So, anyway, okay, so that will be taken care of. Upcoming flu clinic, it's in here, I think it's.
Tomorrow, 1 to 4.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay, guess I missed that.
Yep, tomorrow, 1 to 4 at the
Okay.
town hall.
Ah,
And
I
it's
might
not going
make
to,
4 o'clock.
And that's for the employees, right?
correct, it's the
Yeah,
employee.
We are technically.
Anne will not be in attendance. She messaged us today and
Oh.
said that she will not be able to make it, and
Okay.
2 nurses will
That's
be
fine.
coming down to help us run it, so that's.
And
That's
yeah,
already
no relation to you.
No, I
When I
don't,
first saw
I'm
it,
not,
I said-
yeah,
I said, gotta ask him, Ann Anderson's,
yeah, no, I'm
This
not
way, when
related.
She came around to help us with, we had individual nurses.
Yeah,
One was Tricia's friend and my high school friend's daughter. Then we had another nurse, and then we were trying to recruit nurses, and lo and behold, Solomon, which replaced the Milton VNA. And we had Woonsocket VNA for many years. They were great. But they couldn't do it because they couldn't do the Maven part of it. We have to do this record reporting. Anyway,
Mhm.
when this lady said, talk to me, and I said, well, we're used to paying a regular nurse by the hour for so many hours at the senior center, and then clinics and other stuff. And the other nurses we had added clinics, like those who have diabetes, like diabetes clinic, how to eat healthy, how to do your monitoring, and how you do your injections or pills or whatever else. So they added clinics that were actually really good. I said, oh, imagine that nurses, do things, and
oh, yeah,
they just are not treating it as a job. They don't get more hours. It's just while they're there at the senior center, they want to make the hours productive.
yeah, it's a public,
Some
that's
people-
that's the job of a public health nurse,
Right.
exactly,
So anyway,
yeah.
So when Ann Labonte from Solomon said, so I said, we left the Milford VNA because they were charging us 30. We got the contract for 6. I said, well, we had Woonsocket 10 years ago. It was 9. She said, I'll do it for 9. I
Oh,
said,
wow.
"What?" And I said,
Take that.
you sure? She said, absolutely. It's not profit for us. It's more to get our.
About caring for the community, that's what it's all
Yes,
about,
And
yeah,
she said, we were always, from what I've heard from other people in the organization, well, we always had Bellingham.
Yeah.
So anyway. But when we told them we were gonna shop around, they said, well, we would have given you a better rate when we were shopping. You don't say that to people.
Right.
Or interview.
yeah, you don't say that,
Right,
yeah.
but anyway, so that was it. So anyway, okay, October employee calendar, you and Laura,
Yep, I'm away the 19th
okay,
through the 23rd.
And I'm away the 17th to the 23rd.
okay, so when's our next meeting? Let's see, hold on,
17th,
17th?
I won't be here.
Okay,
I'll be in Florida,
okay,
Oh, we're
so,
in Florida.
going to Disney.
Okay.
I'm going down to Florida too, that's.
Really?
Yeah,
yeah. Not Disney.
no, I'm going towards Tampa.
Tampa.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, maybe Laura, you reach out to, Trish, and if she can't make it, then we don't have a quorum, we can't have a meeting. I don't like to skip meetings until we get to like either winter, when there's storms, or we just don't have a big agenda.
Would we be able to hold it on the 24th, the following Tuesday?
We could, but if Trish is.
If people can't attend,
Right,
because that Rick and I will both be home from our
oh,
vacation.
you're going to that week,
Well, I return on the 23rd, so the 24th I'll be back.
okay, but the 17th, you're not here,
No, the 17th I'm here.
okay,
I'm just saying regardless,
okay.
I'm not.
Rick's
Okay,
not.
So let's do it this way here, since Trish wasn't here tonight, and it works okay as long as we have a quorum.
Yep,
And I think all members are the same, we have a reasonability about us, we're here for a reason,
correct.
I don't know, I'm here because. I
You
don't
have
know.
to. No, I'm kidding.
No, I just, I don't know, when I take on things, I'm in for the life, I'm a lifer, so. Hate to say it, whatever, Just, okay, so. Laura, see if you can reach out to Trish and get a strong commitment sheet. Unless she's ill, hospitalized, or anything else, she'll be here,
Sounds good.
if you can. You can do that. now.
Okay, so if she's not gonna be there, I will make it for the 24th,
Correct, correct.
correct?
Yep.
Okay,
No, so-
Okay, so, next thing is, bills, Michael Saracen.
Make a motion that we
Good
pay that
save.
bill.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. We have SD inspection.
Make a motion, we pay SB motions.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. Okay. We have Mitch WB Mason.
Make a motion that we pay the several WB Mason bills.
Okay, so 115.75. Okay,
The first one's 1440,
Yeah.
the second one's 4581, third one's 5574.
okay, so that's just something more. Yep, okay. Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Go all this instead of writing the top line, because it seems like I'm writing right too far to help.
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
No, the other one's, okay, so we have a membership, MAHB. Membership,
Make a motion that we pay that bill.
okay,
And
Okay.
Laura, that's the one I asked about? The MAHB?
I think so.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, great. Now I knew we had a septic stuff coming up. Yeah, Dylan, usually they start up somewhere around, the trainings are usually, I don't know, there's usually an early one, spring or summer. But typically it's November, and it might even be October. It's November, December. And the one we've gone to typically is either, if it's the early one, it's on Route 9, the Holiday Inn, right as you come off the exit.
Mhm.
You gotta kind of go down and turn and then go across.
Mhm.
There's been one Marlboro as you come off of, I think it's 20. That one's right, like you can go right across.
Oh, yeah. I
There's
think
two lanes.
I think I've been to a conference
Right.
there.
And then the Taunton one, which is at the, I think that might also be a Holiday Inn or something like that,
Okay.
whatever. That's right off the exit, Miles Standish Boulevard, you gotta go around, it's in industrial park, so
Mm.
I guess that's sort of a place for that. Okay, let me just check those on.
Speaking of conferences, Dylan and I are gonna be attending training on the 10th.
Okay,
Safe Serve,
save, sir, yeah, yeah.
it will be here.
Yep.
And it's a day long, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a day, it'll take the whole day.
Yeah, okay, fine. Michael Saracen, I didn't know. Laura, do you know he's still doing it? I thought he had stopped doing it.
Nope, he's still
Okay, so
doing
he,
it and he'll come to us, so that's a plus.
yeah.
Well, we just approved and signed the bill, so I hope he's still
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, yeah, no, he does come right here, but usually, yeah, he's a good trainer.
Yep.
His idea will be to try to feel out what the people half her background. And typically it's a 3 or 4 hour course with the test.
Yeah.
So if everything's going well, it goes quicker. He took care of us and I asked Laura that. Laura, Michelle, Robbie, me, and I think Bruce was 4/24. 24 is the next time we do. So I said, I don't feel like going 4 or 5 months, 6 months early. I think it's like, I'm wasting my money getting a license early, whatever. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay.
And I just want to be sure that you guys got the study materials by email.
Yes, I did.
Okay, because
I've already
otherwise,
looked at 'em. Yep,
oh, good.
Yeah, he
Okay,
likes to do that too. I forgot about that. Yes, he likes to send stuff out. So if you get into that, you make your training cost shorter. Okay, so.
I don't know
8C
if I have, but I can also look into it tomorrow,
Yeah, you
and
can
if I don't, if I don't have it, I can get it in the office.
Right. So, this Betterman loan, I don't know if last time we gave a little history, I don't think we did. Water department, I think we did briefly touch upon it. So, Dylan and I went out to 8 Cedar Hill. The construction crew for the water line, originally when we went out first time, was like 1/4 mile up the road. They came all the way back. What they did the even side houses. Connections, water, the new gate valve, new line to the main, but they replaced the main because it was old.
Mhm,
Cedar Hill, been there forever, I guess.
mhm.
Anyway, they were on number 7 the day we went out, and I could smell a little septic water, but there wasn't much in the trench. It was, probably a little bit of water, and I think it's groundwater too. So I said, I smell it, but it's not black, it's not gray, and it wasn't really very odorous. But Dylan and I decided, we took the water ties for the water meter, and their comment from Jesse, I'm glad he pursued this, we may have let it slip. He said, if the water line is within 5 feet, the water department always like a septic system, even though it's a pressure line. 10-foot minimum, and the thought is, if they have a break and they cut the line, not only could it contaminate him, water will go into the line, it can create a suction. That's why you have a vacuum breaker on every outside faucet. So you don't draw fertilizer, pesticide, or something else into the pumping system.
Could backflow into the public system.
Yeah, so he said, that means they'll catch it, but in the meantime, they have to overchlorinate, and if they don't get it all, someone could get very ill. E. coli will kill you.
Yep.
So anyway, and especially since, it's not a total coliform, it's an E. coli coming from a human versus E. coli coming from another mammal.
So when we,
So anyway, we went out there,
Yeah.
we did the septic system too, and we found that even though it's a 3-bedroom, there are short lines, but there were literally 1, 2, it was 5 lines. But one was 3 feet from the road. That's like, not a lot, usually it's 6.
it was leaking sewage.
10 from the road is usual, but anyway, 10 from a property line. Anyway, that said, when we looked at we were walking around, we paced everything off, we said, well, we think the water line is not going through it. We think it's going over towards the wall and coming in the other, it's a raised range, so. Where the electrical meter is, you never want a water meter, so you usually try to separate at least 5 or 10. That would put it in the middle of the system, they didn't do it, nobody's that slow. Because the system's probably not 5 feet deep, but it's right over it, and when you're digging with a machine, you can scarify the bottom and rip the line out. Anyway, so we went down a little further to the property line going towards Hartford Ave, and there were 4 pieces of berm, and right under the black berms was black sewage.
yeah.
So we would have never seen that, and that wasn't out there when Bill caught it.
Yeah, it was right, it was leaking black sewage right out of the curb, and
So,
I caught it.
We left a card, and then he called me, he said, so what do I do? I said, well, he said, I'm just pumping, or I just pumped. I think he's pumping like this week. I said, well, get it pumped. I said, why? I said, when I first talked, why do you pump it twice a year? You have a 750-gallon tank. I agree, but you're one person using 7,000 gallons of water, except the last quarter you went to 17. You got to think now. Last quarter was a fairly warm summer, although wet. You bought a pool when you first filled it, like 6,000 gallons. Something happened. I think what they did is the hose in there, it siphoned it all out into the lawn. That didn't help as well.
Okay.
So he refilled it. So he said, my 7 plus 12 should be 19. I said exactly what it was. I said, wow.
Wow.
So I said, okay, that's good to know. but I did request. The prior year, I just want to see it happen. So anyway, that said, oh, I know what I request, I want the next quarter sent to us.
Yep.
But now I know what it is. So that said, I told him, I said, listen, if you're gonna stay there and your water use is low and you'll be signing something saying that. You're not making more than 150, we need a 1040, and you're not gonna sell your house or put it up for sale for 6 months. We won't cancel the loan program. I said, but if you could use the loan, it's a 3% loan. You know, town pays 1% back to the state, instead of 0. So it's a 3% loan. Bellingham's 2 plus the 1. So that said, I said, why don't you put in for a loan program? So I guess he contacted Laura and he filled this thing out. Actually, I guess he has a wife. I just didn't, I think he says one person, but anyway, he says he works a lot. So, that said, he is, applying for the loan program, so we need to make a motion to approve the application, right? We're approving, yeah, we need to.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for Daniel and Dawn Marie Cole.
Right, okay.
8
Great.
Cedar Hill Road.
Okay. I'll second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, abstained, so carried.
I would just like to point out real quick,
Yeah.
because he did point it out to us in the office this morning,
Yeah.
that, so in order to fall into the category of this loan, you're supposed to have made under $150,000 in the year.
Yeah.
So when you double check his
Okay.
1040.
Yeah.
They did make. So they made under $150,000 in the year, but
Right.
they took $10,000 out of their pension, I believe, which technically put them at 152.
What
However,
are you looking at? I'm looking at adjusted gross income, which
Yep.
is
so
AGI.
right here, line 1Z. So 141,997, that's how much they made.
Okay.
And then that $10,000 was what they
Yeah.
his wife got laid off, so they
Yeah.
withdrew 10,000 out
Well,
of the
I don't
pension.
know. If you do that, I don't. count
It's
that
not-
income.
I was gonna
It's
say,
all retirement money.
we said that we didn't count it as income in the office, but I just wanted the board to be aware.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
That because it's their retirement.
Yep.
But it's technically they had.
Yeah, I see what your
like,
total income's
Yeah,
152.
your total income was
Yeah,
152,
yeah.
which,
Well-
but they actually made 141, which
Right.
they fall under,
And
so they're good.
we've
But I just
had
wanted
cases
to,
where-
point that out.
We said to somebody. We would do like 2 to 5% or something. We would look at this and say, listen, we're $2,068 over if you count the 10.
Yeah.
I don't think we should count the 10. But if we did, I'd say
Well, the other thing is their taxable income is way under
way in. there.
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
the standard deductions and
Correct.
everything, else, but it's way under.
But we do take the
So it's
AGI,
fine.
so technically that would be,
yeah, it's,
actually, no, if you take the AGI, would that be the 126? Hang on, my taxes are hurting me. Or do we take the total income line, 1A through Z? Laura, do you know, I can't remember how we do that.
even if it's 1A through 1.
It's 141. And then other pension stuff taxable. Well, social security is taxable, pensions are taxable. However, this is, if you look at it, it's a COVID withdrawal from their pension, so it's money you put away, pre-tax.
Oh.
You gotta pay it.
Someone left. Oh,
So anyway,
Okay,
so I'm
I made the motion.
Okay,
Let's,
fine.
yeah,
Okay,
let's move forward.
so in this case, for the application, I'm the only one that has to sign it, so I will sign it and date it. And when we do the actual betterment, there'll be all 3 signatures on it. So,
Oh, okay,
good. Okay,
I believe the next one is also just a sign off, and then we should be.
yeah, that's basically,
And did we know, what's the total amount of the loan? I didn't see it anywhere on the paperwork, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, we're actually supposed to get, we call it preliminary estimate from, Laura, how do we do the preliminaries now? Do we get them to get the designer and then the installer a bid on, which would be done after this?
Okay,
So this is not the loan, this is the application to approve them going forward. So he will now get a permit from the Board of Health. He'll get a perk test and soil evaluation, which Dylan will be out there with Steve. he'll choose a firm.
Okay,
That firm will produce a plan, and then 3 people can bid on the price to install it.
okay,
But he's covered for everything. The cut test probably be like the town's end of it on repair.
Cool.
Let's say it's 150. They'll have the backhoe out there. Some people, whoever you choose for the engineer or the installer, if that person happens to be linked with the engineer, they'll take the 500 off the loan
Yeah,
okay.
if they get the
Okay.
job. But if not, it's you're paying 500, 150, and then the engineering firm is gonna want probably 1,000 up front because it's usually 3,000 to 4,000 for the plan.
all right.
So I told him to come in, Laura, and get 3 estimates, but I gave him a couple of engineers that I thought were reasonable.
Regardless, he's gonna have to look into it after he comes home from
Right.
vacation, so
Okay.
we'll get there when we get there.
Okay, so
Bill's landscaping.
wanna make a motion there, Rick, on that?
On which one?
Bill's
landscaping.
landscaping.
Yeah, I make a motion on Phil's landscaping, $18,500
For 1010 South Main.
for 1010 South Main.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye, opposed, abstained, so carried. So that was a very interesting, sort of like an emergency fix. It got done. Everything looking good on the site there, you know. It had potential to go into a resource area, so. Okay, so the last thing is, gotta open your article here and, your bullets here. Okay, so back in the day, and Dylan and I have been going over Title V. And we'd be going over certificate of compliance where the engineer puts in stuff.
Mhm.
And then Dylan and I thought we caught somebody who had a D box that was 5 feet below the ground. No, he brought it up to 6 inches of the surface with collars. He said we're already there, so he reused them. But the engineer didn't put it on the plan, so we have to keep, how do I say it? The other thing too, Laura, is I was out with Dylan at 32 Overlook today. The guy said it would be real helpful, this Mr. Parmentier, if we have it on the Board of Health septic installers, inspectors and engineers. Because I told him, I said, when people violate this now,
That's on the website.
yeah.
He's talking about,
Right.
just so you
Just on our website, we gotta post it clearly and definitively which person's looking at it. Doesn't want to page through the whole reg. They can go right to installers or right to inspectors. And we may have to modify some of those, because I believe design engineers we weren't looking at. But if they're not putting in a design engineer and our other agent didn't catch it, Bill and I caught it. You know, I caught it automatically because we called up the installer and said, listen, you're gonna come back in, you're gonna take this plan, you're gonna put the cross ties, A and B from the house, foundation, and you're gonna have the engineer put it on the plan. They're not doing this, and I'm saying, we're done with this. This is gonna haunt us because, you know, I don't want Dylan to learn like, well, you know, like today we went over, am I checking for completeness? No, I said, you're checking it for quality, and when you become an inspector, it'll mean more to you. But right now, I'm not waiting for you to be an inspector. I say, give you the edge. And the edge will be that Bellingham is stricter in a few areas than state. And we have to be, because people, when you have a easy reg, they circumvent that one. Well, if they're circumventing the state reg, then imagine what they're doing to our reg. So I said, and you know, I'm an inspector, and you know, I used to be an installer, so I want everybody to do the right thing for the money you're charging people. And I like you to think, you gotta be like a researcher, you know, you're not just some bump on a law that's got an SI number. Because eventually, I don't say you'll make mistakes, you'll do like the other guy who actually didn't even do a real inspection, but he got out of it by dying. So I said, yep, this poor guy's got a $40,000 bill.
so what do we need to do?
So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna reaffirm, these regulations, and I think. We may actually have to, Laura, I'm gonna look at this carefully and include Dylan in some of them. Because this reg here is for Title V system inspectors. Or installation, so I need to make sure. The engineers are listed there, but I don't think the engineers are putting in the necessary data that the installer or inspector supplies. We did find today in two things. The inspectors are checking yes and no. Which one is it?
Yeah.
They're telling someone who has an illegal, well, they call it a garbage disposal, which is technically illegal under Title V. Make sure you fix it before the next inspection. And if it doesn't get done, it's hurting the system. So the next time around, the second or third person will fail, and that owner will have to pay for it. Which if the other person said, I'm gonna turn it over to the Board of Health, we're gonna go and force that. You know, maybe 30 days from now, say, show us that you fixed it. And we do have the right to enter, well, we'll ask permission. If someone said you're not coming in to check my garbage disposal, then, I don't know.
So
We'll
we're just
decide
gonna,
whether-
so basically what we have to do with that is we just have to, we wanted to send out letters
Right.
to installers, engineers and inspectors in the town to remind them that as they fill out these Title V's and conduct these inspections and installations, that they need to ensure that they're properly filling out the documentation to its completeness. You can't leave spots blank that are NA. We want to see you write
Right.
NA.
Right.
We want a complete document. So yeah, we're gonna have to draft something up that says, please
Put it
complete.
this way, it makes it easier for me, and I've been doing this since 1995. But for Dylan, this is a good point. He's gotta read every 18 pages, every one, when you know it's not applicable. So I can't figure why someone can't write NA. You have to read those lines, and if you're a good inspector, you already know what's coming up. NA, you know,
Yeah, it should be simple. It
Yeah.
should be simple enough to
But
throw.
Is there a
NAs.
box on there that says NA?
no,
No,
The
it's
state
a,
doesn't give-
it's a line.
right, it's a line.
Like it'll be like,
System conditionally passes, it's accessible, it's a privy. We don't have those, we do have accessible, but there's so many accessible questions, like, are you in a water resource district? First of all, most inspectors would never know unless they're from Bellingham. And most inspectors would know where the water resource areas are. But you still have to go look at the map, because I don't know where 1,000 feet is for a certain system size.
yeah, all of the questions that are yes and nos have designated yes and
Correct.
nos.
And there's one
boxes,
section where it says NA, only one section,
But
but that's it.
the places on the document that we're requiring NAs are not like a selection. It's you would write something in.
Right.
So we're asking that they write NA as in you don't have to look at this section, move on.
Like, I
This
just
is-
did one,
This
which
is a not applicable
which
section.
was country club.
Well, and
which
that's
is-
why I asked, can we add a box that says NA?
Well, it's a
On
state
those
form.
questions?
It's
hard
a
to do
state
it.
form, so I don't know if we could alter it.
Okay, all right.
Well, the state would say typically a couple of people once when they came to this, what we call this time to pay the piper. Some of them said, well, you do know the state says you can't put anything on that form that's not in the right area. I said, well, the state can say that all they want.
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, if you don't put NA in there, you're gonna get me mad, and I'm the approving authority. I'm not gonna approve it. You're gonna come down and write NA. Now, Bill and I have a couple where we say, should we, how do I say it? Point out that we don't like these reports. I think on some, I'm willing to let the NA go for now. Until we revitalize this and they still do it, then you're getting screwed. You're coming down. We will refuse to accept things like this, one or two that had some errors in it. I'm gonna say we don't accept them. They had to come down and give us a new sheet. And say, well, I made a typo, like I've done it before. I checked pass on one section, in the back, I was, I sometimes.
And these companies are approved by us, right?
They're approved by the state, but we regulate them in terms of like, they're allowed by state to practice their trade. However, if this guy that died was still alive, I'm pulling his license from NEPA, which is a third party trainer and licensor for the state of Massachusetts, DEP. Septic.
So-
environmental law.
You just want to add a letter saying this is what we need on each
Correct.
one.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So,
So I thought, since it was what, 2019, so actually, see, I was pretty kind all those years. From
Yeah.
95, I was probably, what it is, I was putting up with it and saying, every time I covered for the agent, I'd say, why are we doing this slot? You're charging good money. Right now, they're charging $800 for something, and you can't fill out a form right. I'm not expecting you. You know, you're gonna be,
Yeah.
as I said to Dylan, you know, and I said this to, I said, Rick was a detective, but Dylan did a few things the first day after he came back to the office and said, well, he's got good skill. You know,
Thank you.
That's why I recommended you.
right, I know.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and I said to myself, I said, and he's not even a former police officer, but I always had an agent in the beginning, like, well, Mike, not the first guy, but the second guy. He was very good at that, like he searched people and said, you know, this person, like a problem.
Do you want to adjourn the meeting real quick?
Yeah, so,
Because we're all good.
are we all good?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's everything.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, so carried, okay.
Wow. Russ.
So what I think Dylan will do is I will just double check this rag, make sure it's clear, concise, and add things to it. If I think it's missing, we'll just say, this part is a change. All the others was previously approved in September of 2019. So,
Okay,
All right, we're heading off. Have a good night, Laura.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Good night.
Good night. So, you know, that was like I said, you know,